Good morning. Once again, we are glad to have you here at Smith Street Baptist Church. It is a brand new year. Amen. We all made it. And although I don't know how many of us are still at home not making it, but we all who are present have made it. And we're glad to, I'm glad to see you this morning. Hope you had a great Christmas and an even better New Year's and a great snowstorm. Hope you enjoyed the snow. Some of you still have snow out there, I understand. It's in the crevices and cracks of your yard where there is no sun. They always say where the sun don't shine. I've now figured out where that is. So it's where the snow is still. Today's going to be a little different than normal. This is our State of the Church address. What this does today is we talk about where the church has come from and where I believe the church is going. The theme for this year is going to be The Change Is You. And we've put 2018 after that. So if you're a social media buff, you can throw a hashtag, or for those of you who aren't social media buffs, that's the pound sign. And you can put that in front of this, The Change Is You, 2018. You're going to see that a lot this year on our publications, online, in our bulletins, print, and so on and so forth. Because without you changing something this year, it's going to be the same as last. Now, last year wasn't a bad year, and we're going to talk about that. But I don't know about you, but I don't want last year. It's gone. I'd like to live in this year and see what this year is going to be like. And since last year was good, I'd like for this year to be great. So that's my goal. That's my desire. So I'm going to open up, though, with some thoughts. Normally I have you stand. I'm not going to have you stand and read this morning only because we're going to be throughout different parts of the church. Some of this is Scripture. Some of this is going to feel like I'm giving you a report, like a business meeting. And hold on, because it is in some ways that way. But these are the most important statistics that I think we need to talk about if we're going to go somewhere in this new year. And I hope you're willing to go with us in the new year. By the way, we had a great pastor's breakfast this morning. We had a family there that joined us this morning for breakfast. And Miss Kathy Butler, who's in the nursery, she and Earl and Mark, thank you guys for your tremendous effort in there and making that happen. And, of course, to Miss Jessica Bowen, my ministry assistant, for staying up many late hours over the last couple of days and helping get ready. Thank you. We had a great time. If you have completed your gifts assessment and you have not been invited to the pastor's breakfast, I invite you now to come next week at 9:45, not 9 o'clock, 9:45 to the fellowship hall. You'll need to let us know that you're coming. That would be really good so we can make sure we have enough food for you. If you have taken your gifts assessment and you are interested in finding out what that means, please let us know before the end of the week, before Thursday. If you don't let us know before Thursday and show up, I'm sure we'll have food for you, but we may not have your test results. So I want to make sure that everybody's done that. If you haven't taken the gifts assessment, then guess what I'm going to ask you to do? Take the gifts assessment. There should be copies in the vestibule, the lobby, and at all exits of this building. So pick up a copy, take it with you, and bring it back. If you'd rather not come to the breakfast and but you have taken it, you'd like to know where you are or how you scored, just contact me this week. I'll be glad to go over it with you and give you that information. Some of you have done it, Miss Faye. I think you've already done it. I have no idea where your results are. Can't find them anywhere. They're out in the netherworld, so I'm going to ask some of you to do it again. Some of you have probably done it 3 times now. I don't know what happened to your results. But we're going to blame Brother Ed. It's his fault, so we'll blame him. He probably did something with them. So thank you, Brother Ed, for taking that right off the bat there. That's the kind of year it's going to be for you. Okay? So I appreciate it. Me too. I'm looking forward to it as well. So we'll be talking about that. Some of you, I look out and I know where you scored on these because I've been going over them, and I think to myself, man, what an amazing year it's going to be if those people serve in those areas. Well, you might think to yourself, Chester, I'm not really equipped to serve in those areas. I'm not really, I may be equipped to serve in the area based on some assessment, but I'm not really much of a servant or much of a doer because I'm not much of a speaker. I'm not a public speaker. I'm not a public servant. Listen, in the Old Testament, God didn't use a whole lot of people who would have been voted most likely to succeed. He used a whole lot of people who would not have been voted most likely to succeed. I remember my senior superlatives in high school, and I was not voted most likely to succeed. In fact, I wasn't even in the running, and for good reason. But I was in the running for most wittiest. And I did not get that, and I was very upset about that. And so I've strived ever since then to be wittier than everyone else. It hasn't worked, but I've tried. There's people who are wittier than me. it doesn't mean that I can't be witty, funny. You know who I can be? I can be myself. God called me and gifted me to be who He wants me to be. Amen? Well, He's got that same calling and that same gifting in your life. And if you think to yourself, well, I may not have been most likely to succeed, that's okay. Because that's the kind of people God wants. God wants, not that He can't use that one person who is most likely to succeed, but He wants those of us who, when we look in the mirror, we say, I need some Jesus. I need some God. I need Him to do this through me because I can't do it on my own. That's who He wants to use, and that's who He's going to use the most. Think about people like Moses, an escaped fugitive. He made all kinds of excuses as to why he was not the one that God needed to use to deliver the nation of Israel from Egyptian bondage. But guess what? That's the one He used. He used David, little old David, before David was ever known as king. He used little old David to kill Goliath. Little old David, in spite of his youth and everybody being disparaging against him, talking about him, his brothers saying he was nothing, little old David took down big old Goliath. He used Samson and Balaam and even Balaam's donkey. He used a donkey. Now, I could go somewhere with that, but I'll just pretend that you know where I'm going with that and say that even, yes, He can use even those. God used Pharaoh and his hardened heart to demonstrate His power over the gods of Egypt. You see, God uses sometimes the most unlikely characters in our lives to do the most unlikely things for His glory. You and I are the most unlikely characters. Did you know that? I believe we are the most unlikely characters. I'll tell you why we're the most unlikely characters. It's because we didn't come in today thinking, at least I hope you didn't come in today thinking we were going to do anything powerful for God on our own. We came in today looking for God to do something powerful in us, through us, and with us. Amen. And so if you came in this morning looking for that, then guess what? You came in this morning with the right attitude. You'll notice I took pictures this morning. Some of you may notice that I took pictures in the back. Some of you may notice I took pictures in the front. I don't know if that'll happen 51 more weeks. You know, it's a lot to commit to. But my thought is that I will get up here at the beginning and take a picture of everybody in the congregation. Why? Because I would just like to hope that on January, the first Sunday of 2019, we can put in the bulletin a picture of the first of the year and a picture of the last of the year. And I hope they don't look the same. Amen. I may not even have to do one every year. Every week. I could just do two now that I said it. Well, that got a lot easier. But you know, I hope that we can compare this time next year. And when we compare, we see more people. Not just more people, but we see more souls that have been saved. I was telling our pastor's breakfast this morning that I count all people, from the youngest baby to the oldest grown-up, because every person is a soul, and every soul Christ died for. So there's no soul that's not important, and there's no soul that should not be counted. Well, it's a good thing that God uses the least likely, right? Because we're going to talk about how God used the least likely in 2017. We have this thing called a church health audit. It took me a very long time to do. It was very encouraging in some places and very disparaging in others. I'm going to share that with you, and today we're going to feel kind of like a roller coaster ride. It's going to be, yay, 1 minute, and the next minute. So go with me here and be ready for it. Hopefully you'll get the yays at the right time and the ahs at the right time. Otherwise, you're going to look silly. Attendance over our 10-week average in 2017, our attendance was 70. Now, that's on campus. You can look around and see that that's probably indicative of where we are today. When you count all of the children in the children's ministry, you count the children's leaders, and you count the nursery workers and anyone in the nursery. And then you probably don't count the people up in the press box, up in the tech booth, because you're thinking about just who's all down here. But when you look around, this is pretty indicative of what we've had over a 10-week average. Is it lower than where I'd like? Well, let me put it this way. It's lower than where we've been. And I think it's lower than where we could be. But it is where we are. And so instead of being sad about where we've come from, let's see where we are and let's pray about where we're going. You on board with that? So see, you already got something to be excited about. Because even though we may be 70 here, we're about 50% full. Believe it or not, we're about 50% full. Actually, less than that. Comfortably. You can put 135 people in the sanctuary, comfortably. And that's 80% of the sanctuary's capacity. And when we put 135, so we're actually at about 50% or less of what we need to get before we get to 80%, which is where people won't come in anymore. Now, I know that's all confusing. If you're not a math person, you're lost. Let me put it this way. When people come through that back door late, and they do sometimes, and they see this church 80+% full, guess what? They sometimes will turn and leave. Don't believe me? Ask members of the choir who were up here a couple of years ago when we were booming. After I first got here and there's excitement was on and everybody was, listen, people were inviting people were telling people about Jesus. I mean, there was an excitement in the air. And there weren't all these excuses and working and all that kind of stuff. That wasn't a problem. People were finding a way and making a way. I mean, it's just truth. And when we were here and we were doing that and people were getting saved, we had people come through that back door. The choir was up here singing. The church, I was at the time. I often don't like to say, I told you so, Ed, but you know I'm right about this one. I said to our leadership, I said, we are almost 80% capacity. We've got to go to 2 services or put more pews in the sanctuary somehow. And you know what I got? I got a little kickback, didn't I? I got a little bit like, well, now, not from Ed. Ed was on board. Let's not throw him under the bus yet again. But I got some kickback. Why? Because people were scared to grow that fast. And in hindsight, we probably couldn't have handled it very well because we've learned so much more since then. But the story goes, the statistic goes, that if you get 80%, people will feel uncomfortable. And if people come in late and see that, they'll turn around and go. And I'm standing here as a witness to you that it happened and the choir saw it. The choir was full, by the way. And the choir saw people come to the door, look in, and at that time, we didn't have any ushers back there. We do now. We have our ushers are there the whole time. But back then, ushers were not right there at that door during the music. And people came in, and there was no way to grab them. And they turned around and left. And I don't know that we ever saw them again, because I don't know who they were. I didn't see them. But they didn't come. And I had choir members coming to me saying, you were right. I mean, really? I'm not going to go out on an arrogant limb and say I'm always right. But I'll say when I'm up here, everything I say, at least when I say it, I think I'm right. Okay, let's just go with it that way. Not always right, but I think I am anyway. So there's something to be said if we're going to... Let me ask you a question, because I really don't want to waste your time this morning. How many of you want to see this church grow numerically and spiritually over 2018?
Amen.
Okay, so if everybody... All right, thank you. So I'm glad you're excited. It's going to happen. So if now, how many of you are on board doing whatever I ask that's reasonable to make it happen? Around working hours. Huh? Ed didn't jump up for that one? He said, no, never mind. Well, if you are honestly willing, then this year is going to be a year where you're challenged because you're going to be asked to. Now, can I just be honest with you? If you're not willing, why? Why not? I mean, I'm just asking. Because it baffles me that you would waste your time. And it's a waste of time going to church if you don't believe in the mission that God's given the church. It's a waste of time. And I know you might be thinking, well, wait, I can go and praise God there. God's not interested in our praises unless they're followed by our obedience. Listen to me again. God's not interested in our praises unless it's accompanied by our obedience. You might be sitting there thinking to yourself, well, now wait a minute. You're telling me God isn't interested in me praising Him? You know what praising God without being obedient to God is called? It's called hypocrisy. Oh, Lord, you are so worthy of all these things, and I will do anything you ask me to, except anything you ask me to. That would be hypocrisy, right? I mean, are we in agreement here? We should be. I already made it clear that what I say, at least right now, I think I'm right. We should be, right? So now, this is not a make you feel bad thing, but I'm about to share some numbers with you listen, can I be honest with you? If you all stop coming to the church and none of you come back next Sunday, do you know what I'm going to do? I like to tell you that I'm all spiritual and stuff, and I'm going to understand. I'm going to stand here and praise God and worship, and I'm going to have my own church service. But you know what? I'm probably not going to do that. I'm probably going to be without a congregation. So I recognize you're here because you believe God wants you to be here, and you choose to be here. And I think that's awesome, and we're in this together because we all have the freedom to not be here. So we're all here because we believe God wants us to be here, and this is what He wants us to do. But if you're here because you believe God wants you to be here, and you believe He's got something for you to do, then I'm just blown away at the idea that you don't want to do it. Okay, so I'm going to operate. Is it fair? Now you have to tell me this. Is it fair for me to operate from here on out to the next year as if everybody who attends the church and says they want to do whatever God wants them to do means what they say. Is that a fair assumption? Okay, all right, because that's how I'm going to treat you. Is it fair for you to treat me the same way? Yeah. Oh, you were so much faster to answer that one. But yes, so that's how we should treat each other. Third question, is it fair for you to treat each other that way? Yes. That's how the healthy body of Christ operates. The healthy body of Christ operates together like that. So we're all on the same ship. Heather and I went on a cruise, you know that, right? We went on a cruise. Do you know we were all on the same ship? We all got to the port at the same time. We all got out to the water at the same time. We did not all get sick at the same time. But we all got to where we needed to go at the same time. That's the church of God. That's the church here. That's the church we're in. We are all headed in the same direction. If somebody on that ship had tried to blow a hole in the bottom of the ship, and I'd been standing there, I would have stopped them. Because if they blow a hole in the bottom of the ship and the ship goes down, guess what? I go down with the ship. My family goes down with the ship. Now listen, if this ship goes down in 2018, it's not because God has changed who He is. It's because His people have not been obedient. If this ship goes down in 2018, it's because we have stood by and let it. How many of you would stand by on a cruise ship and let somebody intentionally sink your ship? Why would you do that in the church? People sometimes get phone calls from me. They think Chester's getting on to us. I'm not getting on to you. I just don't want you blowing a hole in the ship. And sometimes you all should call me and say, Chester, that might seem like a good idea, brother, but you might want to think about that TNT. That's when I get real mad. I'm like, I'm going to go in and I'm going to tell you something. And somebody's like, now hold on there, Slick. Don't blow a hole in the ship, right? We all are in this together. We're all in this ship together. Now, let me be clear. I don't want you sinking the ship that my family's on. And I don't want to be responsible for sinking the ship that your family's on. And so the only way we're going to do this, the right way, is by following the captain. And the captain is not me. The captain is Jesus. And He knows how to get us to the next port. But we've got to do it His way. We've got to be all on board. And I love you when I say this, but I'm going to tell you what. This year's going to be a year where I'm not chasing people like I have in the past. I'm going to chase you to an extent. I'm going to chase you right to the edge of the boat. But if you jump off that boat, I can't go with you. In other words, we got to get on the same page that we want to move forward. We want to grow the church and grow the kingdom, or grow the kingdom and grow the church. And some people aren't going to go with us. 2018 will be a year of growth and change and deliverance, but some people won't experience that. And that's tragic, but that's true. Some people won't do it. And some of you are those people. Some of you are people who will be left behind in 2018. Or you still may be sitting here at the end of the year, but you'll not have experienced the amazing glory that God has to shine or the amazing blessings that God has to shine down for His glory. Because you will not have been obedient to Him. It's not being obedient to me. It's us being obedient to Him. So that's why I say the change is you. The change is me. Because this year, for it to look different, we've got to get on board with what God wants us to do in 2018. Now, I'll let you in on a secret. His mission hasn't changed much at all, really. It's still focused on the lost. We're still focused on the lost. Okay, but let's get back to some of these statistics, because I know you're like, well, where are you going with this? All right. Last year we total membership, this is on the deacons list. We have 113 people. Now, I'm not one of these people. You can go to churches that have 10 people in the pews and 1,000 people on the membership list. I don't like that, okay? So we operate, when I give you these statistics, I'm giving you based upon active family members. Active members that are on the family deacon plan. And every member is on the family deacon plan. Last year, our baptisms, we had 9. That's 5 more than the average church our size. Churches our size typically average 4 baptisms or less. We had 9. But that's also our lowest since 2014, since I got here. So we have actually had 58 total since 2014, which is great. That's a great number. The church that 3 years prior to that didn't baptize anybody has now baptized 58 people in the same amount of time. That's a blessing. But our work's not done there. Too often we lead them to Jesus, dunk them, and then we don't follow through with anything. And that's when they end up in the world. Some of them, maybe it wasn't a real salvation. Some of them it was, but they end up in the world. We don't want that here. That should be something you're focused on. When you talk about what you pray for all those people that got saved, got baptized, and are living in the world now because they didn't follow through with what God had for their life. I believe a Christian who lives in the world has got it much tougher than a lost person who lives in the world. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's what I think anyway. Let's see here. Total seats in the auditorium, I told you 135, so 52% full of where our 80% max is. We have, last year's total income. This is awesome. Last year's total income was $126,138.26. Now, before you get too excited, last year's budget was $135,000. Last year, you approved in a budgetary meeting, in a conference at the end of the year last year, you approved a budget of $135,000. That money didn't come in, so we had to change our spending because, believe it or not, you can't spend what you don't bring in. We could have pulled out a savings, but we did in some cases, but we don't want to get in the habit of doing that. We want to make sure we're using the savings money for ministries and not for overhead. So we made sure that we were working towards that. We went about 8 months in the red. 8 months or so in the red. 7 or 8 months. We finished the last half of the year by God's blessing in the black. Our final total, we finished in the black by $5,557.49. That is the first time since I've been here that we finished in the black. This is a win. Because when I got here, my goal to the selection committee that hired me, I told them I wanted us to be operating in a financial black within 5 years. I will begin my 4th year in March. That's a God thing. Give God a hand. That's a God thing. That's a God thing. So if you think we can't pay our bills, guess what? We not only pay them, we went $5,000 in the good last year. All right? That's a wonderful thing. Praise God. Now, does that mean you don't need a tithe? No, in actuality, it means you've been giving more. It means you've been faithful. Don't stop giving, because guess what? I want to get up here next year and I want to tell you this. I want to say not only did we end up in the black, I've got the okay for this now. Not only did we end up in the black, but at the end of the year, we took the excess money and we donated it to a mission group. Whether it be a local mission group, whether it be a missionary, whatever. We took that and we donated the excess money and we're starting the year over zeroed out. So wouldn't it be great for the end of the year next year for all these organizations that need money, want money, and are asking for money? Wouldn't it be great to write a check to some of these organizations from Smith Street Baptist Church and say, this is what God's blessed us with. Here's the difference. There you go. That's you guys. That's y'all. I mean, I'm in that too, but that's y'all. That's your giving and your faithfulness that makes that happen. And we've proved, and I don't mean this to get glory because it's not me. It's God. But we've proven to you that we're going to be good stewards of your money that you've given to the church to do the work of God. We've proven that now. It took us a little while to get here, but we've proven that. So now trust in God's people who lead the church to use the mission money for mission work. And by the way, if you ever have a question about where the money's going, you can always come up here and look at all of the finances. And you don't have to be a member of the church to do it. It is open book for anybody who wants to come up and sit down. I'm going to put you in there with Martha and let her take you through everything. You want to know how much I make? You want to know how much I get paid for housing? You want to know how much it's all open record. Go look at it. Because we're hiding nothing. We're hiding nothing. Are we it?
Except my salary.
Except Ed's salary, he said. Which doubled this year, by the way.
0 to double zero.
That's right. You notice how he threw that out there. You wanted to make sure everybody knew you don't get paid, didn't you? He's like, make sure that's clear. What a blessing. So our 2018 budget amount is $128,000. That's less than last year, but we've operated into some faith there. I just want to point out to you that we are giving over 10% to world missions. That's local missions, that's state missions and world missions. That's not counting Lottie Moon and Annie Armstrong. Those are special offerings. So we are giving, or maybe that does count that actually. It's 9.8%. With those, it'll be over 10%. We're giving 10% to missions, just like the church asked the body to give 10% to the church. Amen. Okay, so what we ask you to do, we're doing it we're not doing anything different than what we ask you to do. I think that if I were sitting where you were, I would be happy about that. Amen. So, and we've worked very hard to get us to a 10% or more when it comes to giving, and it actually comes out a little bit more than that. Let me give you a breakdown because of time on the number of giving units. 126 people gave in the 2017. 126 different people gave either $1 or a bazillion dollars. Nobody gave a bazillion. But from $1 up, at least, number 126, that's pretty good. That's not counting special offerings either. If you gave to Ugandan Thunder, that doesn't count that. It's talking about giving to the missions of the church. So thank you for your obedience. That's huge. That's more people than we have on average. That's almost double, actually, what we have on average are giving regularly or giving at least one time. I thought this was really neat. In the last 10 weeks of the year, do you know we had 10 new givers in the church? 10 new givers. We averaged one new giver a week during the last 10 weeks of the year. That's pretty big too. That's pretty huge. So praise the Lord. The Lord's doing something. Let's see here. Currently, our bank balance, this is savings and checking, not CDs or anything, as of Friday came out to $17,372. So the Lord is blessing us, and we are working very hard to use that money for His glory. By the way, Ed will tell you that money goes fast, doesn't it, Ed? It goes very fast. And some of it is designated to youth and children and those kind of ministries as well. Let's see here. We're still a little high on where we'd like to be. They say that you should not be any higher than 50% of your salary staff going to salaries. We are at 55.4%. We're getting that down. That used to be 80%. When I first got here, staff was 80%. So you know what we had to do? We had to cut some staff, and we had to put a lot on us that are left. But we want to be good stewards of this money. See, I spend a lot of time up here talking about money. But I don't want you to misunderstand me. I'm not talking about money like give. I'm being accountable right now and telling you what we've done with this. Amen. The money you've given for the mission of God. So let's understand why. We're at 55.4. That covers all of our staffing. 5.2% of our income this year will be spent on organizational and educational ministries. 8.5% will be on service ministries. 20.4% is scheduled for buildings and equipment. That's overhead. That's electricity, gas, water, telephones. We've also cut our phone lines back. We did it last year. We cut them back from 3 lines to 1 line. If you call and it gets busy or you get something strange on there, call back because we've gone down to 1 line. We felt like we weren't needing to pay an extra $150 or whatever it was a month for 2 more lines. So we pulled back to 1 line. Our advertising budget for the new year is 0.3%. And the last time we did a fundraising campaign was 2017 with our children. Last year a primary communicator taught 49 weeks last year. So in case you're curious how many weeks I've taught, 49 weeks I taught last year, missing 3 Sundays. Now I teach a lot during Wednesday and other Sunday stuff and other stuff during the week, but this counts Sunday morning sermons. And 49 of them, 1 I missed because I was having some neck problems, and the other 2 were the recent vacation days I took at the end of the year. Once I hit 5 years, I get 3 weeks. I just want to keep reminding you of that. Skip down to number of adults and students who serve regularly, 30. On a 10-week average, we have 30 number of adults and students who serve regularly. That volunteer ratio is 43%. 43% of our average people here are serving. When you feel like you're one in a few that's doing the work, you may be 1 in 40, you may be 1 in 30, but 43% are on average are serving. That's almost half the church is serving every week. That's huge. That's huge. I've never seen a percentage that high. And the bigger church you get, the smaller that percentage goes. However, no new volunteers were onboarded last 10 weeks. 37 are on the roster. 9 are leaders. So that's basically what I wanted to share with you. There's a lot of other stuff, but those are the things I wanted to share with you in the church audit. Now, why take the time to do that? Because if you're going to get anything in this new year, you need to understand that when the pastor preaches on tithing, or when I stand up here and talk about money for whatever reason, it is not to pay my salary or make me have a vacation. I would not have the blessings I have when it comes to those kind of things, like taking a cruise, if it wasn't for that woman right there. Because she makes sure that when all of my buddies are going out and eating 16 days a week, right? That's extra meals. She's telling me, hey, listen, if you go out and eat that much, we're not going to be able to go on vacation like we did last year. My wife is the one that takes care of making sure that we're careful, because I'm busy taking care of making sure that we're careful here. The accountability of the finance team is also working together, and Jessica and Martha as we work together. So when we talk about money, it's not about paying my salary or her salary or letting us have better things or whatever. We have shown you some of the stuff that it's going towards. And I want to encourage you to get on board and ask questions. There's nothing wrong with you asking why. I would rather you ask why so that you can learn. But I tell you all this because I've been open and honest and transparent and accountable to you as the body of Christ. So in 2018, it may take me being a little bit more straightforward up here and saying, we got 500 miles to walk. Now, I'm not going to ask you to take up an offering and us count it up here like I've seen done in some churches. And then we go, well, we didn't make our numbers. We got 34 miles to walk. Who's giving $34 more so we can reach it? I'm not going to go that far. 2019, I might, but not this year. But what I want you to know, and in your bulletin it says, what's the one thing I want you to know? I want you to write this down. True change comes in the form of obedience to God's will. True change. All of you that raised your hand about having true change in the church in the new year, you said you were willing to do something. And true change comes in the form of obedience to God's will. Now I'm going to throw these couple things at you. Then I'm going to give you the verses that set all of this up because it's the same every year. But if you haven't heard it, you're going to hear it again. Or you're going to hear it. Our mission statement. This is something I'm asking leaders to commit to memory. If anybody else would like to commit it to memory, that's awesome. I'm trying to commit it to memory. I even have it hanging up in my bathroom in the office. I was surprised today. Jessica, I'm assuming, hung those up for me so I could learn them as well. But I want to memorize this because I want us to not just memorize it to know it. I want us to live this out. Our mission statement is what we do always, all year, every year. And the mission is this: to create a church in which the people are actively loving God, loving people, and making disciples. That's pretty easy to remember if you already know that we're loving God, loving people, and making disciples. All you got to do is say that our mission is to create a church in which the people are actively, not the people just love God, but the people are actively loving God, loving people, and making disciples. Our mission statement is this. The mission statement changes from year to year. Our mission for 2019 or for 2018 is this: to create a church in which the people are actively, by 2019, this is the vision statement. By 2019, 75% of members are three-pronged and have led at least one person to Christ.
Amen.
That may be a lofty goal, but you know what? I serve a lofty God. My God is man, where are y'all at? Are y'all sleeping? Did I bore you with all them numbers? My God can handle this goal. Chester can't. I can't do it. Y'all, we can't do it on our own. God can, but we got to be willing to do what He tells us to do. And He tells us to go and make disciples, very clearly. Matthew 28, He tells us, go and make disciples. So our goal for 2018 is by this time next year, we are celebrating 75% of our members, not visitors, not regular attenders, not guests. 75% of the membership here at Smith Street Baptist Church are three-pronged members and have led at least one person to Christ. That means we're going to be teaching you more how to do it, and I'm going to be following up with people and asking them, and other people are going to be following up with people because I can't follow up with everybody, but we're going to be walking with you and saying, hey, have you led anybody to Christ? And you're going to go, oh, I'm really nervous, and we're going to say, well, can we go with you? Can we take you out to do it? Can we show you how it's done? Every person that comes in contact with somebody else has an opportunity to share Jesus with them in some way. And coming up in a couple Wednesdays, we're going to teach you how to do it with the Word for You Today devotion. We're equipping you to go out and share Christ with Jesus. What, Chester, if nobody comes to church other than everybody who's here right now? That's okay if we can still celebrate that 75% of the congregation led somebody to Christ. Are you good with that? I'm good with that. I'm good with the same number right here in 2019 if we're celebrating 75% of the congregation led somebody to Christ. Do the math, because I can't. There's a lot of people. A lot of people going to heaven. A lot of celebrations, Luke 15:10. A lot of celebrations in heaven over the salvation of one sinner. So now you need to write down in your bulletin, what are you going to do with this? Because that's the second question. All year long, for the foreseeable future, these questions in the bulletin will remain the same. What's the one thing I want you to know from the sermon? And what are you going to do with it? Are you going to do... You know what I would write down? This is what I would write down. This is not what you can write down. It's different. I would write down anything. I'm going to do anything this year that God asked me to do. Heather, are you going to do anything that God asked you to do? Kristen, are you going to do anything that God asked you to do? Mark, will you do anything that God asked you to do this year? Will any of you do anything? Will all of you do anything? that God asks you to do? Well, John 14:12 puts it like this, and I just want you to listen today. We didn't have it on the screen, so I just want you to hear this. Truly I say to you, whoever believes in me will also do the work that I do. And greater works than these will he do, because I am going to the Father. Listen to what Jesus said again. Whoever believes in me will also do the works I do. You believe in Jesus? Will you do the works that he does? In other words, if Jesus was all about going out and telling people about the way to heaven, can we not do that as well? Smith Street, you are going to be equipped more than ever this year to do this, but I can't make you do it. I wish I could. My job would be so much easier. But I can't make you do it. I can equip you to do it. I can teach you to do it. I can show you to do it. I can go with you to do it. I can't make you do it. And why is this important? Because Matthew 5:14, he was talking about this. He said, you are a light of the world. A city, now listen, set on a hill cannot be hidden. Nor do people put a lamp under a basket. You don't light a lamp and stick a basket on it. It serves no purpose. You light a lamp, put it on a stand, a candle, an oil lamp. You light it and you set it up on a stand. Why? To give light out. Will Smith Street Baptist Church be a church that covers the light of Christ with a basket in this 2018? Or will we be a church that shines the light of God out? You just sang a song that said that exact thing. Let your light shine, it said. It said, shine your light. It's talking about the works of God, the works of Christ, the things he'd have us do. When we have a call to arms at Smith Street Baptist Church to get together and go do something, don't sit on your laurels at home. Get out and shine the light of God. Preacher, I'm busy. Stop being so busy. Preacher, I got a lot of stuff to do. Quit having a lot of stuff to do. Preacher, you don't understand. I get it. I got it. I'm good. Quit making excuses. Quit. Sister, you said I'm not. Now, you said it now. You said around my work schedule. That's cool. We all got to work. I understand that. I also understand that I get to do a lot of stuff y'all don't get to do during work. So I'm cool with that. I understand that. You know what, though? Your free time, give it to Jesus. Your work time, give that to Jesus too. I know you do. I know you do. Give it to Jesus. Some of y'all say, well, I can't go into the work and share Jesus with people. That's fine. Do it how you got to do it. Sneak around how you have to do it. Share Jesus how you have to do it. If you absolutely positively cannot share Jesus in there because they will fire you in this day and age, some places they will, go share Jesus when you're not at work and be an example of who Jesus is when you are.
You can share him by the way you act.
That's what I'm saying. Be an example. Be an example of who Jesus is. That's what you've got to do in 2018. Why? All right, real fast. Loving God comes out of Matthew 22:36. Teacher, which is the great commandment of the law? And he said, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind. How do we do that? We do it through corporate worship. We do it through special activities like Ugandan Thunder. We do it through children's ministry and our youth ministries. When we love God with all our heart, soul, and mind, we should desire to worship with others. That's how we do that here at Smith Street. Because why? True change comes in the form of obedience to God's will. I want you to say it again. I want you to hear it again. True change, I know I keep saying it. That's because if you get nothing else, you got to get this. True change comes in the form of obedience to God's will. How do I know I'm not in God's will? Because I'm being disobedient. It's very simple to discern that. What if I don't know what God wants for my life? Oftentimes people will say to me, I just don't know what God wants me to do. And I often say, I'll bet you already do know what God wants you to do. You're just fighting him. And do you know how many times people go, yeah, you're right. Well, quit making me right and go do it. But it's hard. I know it is. He never said it would be easy. Loving people. So here's my thought. It ought to bother you. It really ought to bother you that you have people that go to this church that aren't here today. Even if they're sick, hurt, hospital, whatever. It ought to bother you enough to find out where they are. You can't find out where everybody is, but it ought to bother you. I have not to point you guys out, but I have a couple that I told this morning. I'm glad you're here this morning, but I think of you every week because I know you're out there on the road working and you're listening to the app. Sometimes that's what people do. We got some homebound people. That's all they can do is listen on the app. I know you're out there, homebound people. That's not who I'm talking about. We're talking about those people who your friends would be honest with you and say, well, I was just too tired to get up this morning. Those are the people you got to say, man, we need you there. We want you there. We love you. You got to be there. Why? Here's why. Here's why being here is so important. Because how are you ever going to catch the fire if you're not here to hear it? You see what I'm saying? My job is to motivate you, get you excited about the work God has for you. How are you ever going to get excited and catch it if you're not here when I throw it? So you ought to get excited and get your other people. Get your mamas, get your daddies, get your grandmas, get your sisters, get your brothers. The church is big enough for you to get the people you don't like and just put them on the other side of the church. Find out where they're sitting and then sit on the other side and just try not to look at them and pray for them while you're there. Is that what we do? Is that what you do to me? Yeah. No, you don't. You love me. Making disciples. So you got loving God, loving people, making disciples. Making disciples comes out of, loving people comes out of the second part of that verse, 22:39. He says, and the second is like, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. And then the third part, making disciples, we do that. So we do loving people through service ministry, and we do making disciples through Sunday school, small groups. Let me say this and we'll be done. Because I know, in fact, Miss Sydney, we're not even going to do an invitation this morning, Miss Sydney. We're just going to, yes, ma'am. So you're good right there. Just stay there. Hold that down. Let me tell you where we're going to go with this morning. All right? Sunday night, 6 o'clock, every Sunday night, I'm teaching a Sunday school class. I'm teaching that class for anybody and everybody. It was geared initially to people who are already teaching in ministries, Sunday school, nursery, whatever. I'm teaching Sunday school class for anybody who wants to come, men and women, and even our teenagers can come to this. It's anybody who wants to be here, 6 o'clock. It will start out in the conference room. We'll see where it goes from there. If it goes bigger than that, we'll move somewhere else. We might have some nights where we meet at the house. We might have some nights where we meet at somebody else's house. We might have nights where we meet out and eat. But tonight we're going to start here at the conference room. Now, why am I sharing that with you? Because if you're not in a Sunday school class because you have other obligations in the morning, you now have no excuse from that standpoint. Which means you can come to one for 45 minutes. You can come to one now. It's going to be every night at 6 o'clock. Every Sunday night at 6 o'clock. And you don't have to be a man. You don't have to be a woman. You probably should be one of the two. But we'll take all of you. So come on. We're going to worship. We're going to learn. We're going to grow. We're going to do it in Sunday school material. Why? Because you have to be discipled regularly. If you ever want to know how I get discipled regularly, I'll be glad to talk to you about it when we have time. But I'm telling you, even I am regularly being discipled. We have to be discipled if we're going to go out into this world and make disciples. No more excuses. Because you all raised your hands. You said you wanted it. And maybe you didn't know what you were getting into. Because that's a lot of Christians. They don't know what they're getting into when they say yes to Jesus. But the standard is here. Guys, I'm guilty of letting this bar drop this year, towards the end of the year. I'll just hand to God transparency and truth. I was getting frustrated with some stuff, and I was just letting that bar drop, and I wasn't trying anymore. And I had to make a decision. Either get out of the way and let the next person come in here, or get on board with what God had planned, whether you get on board or not. You hear that now? That may be a little in your face, but that's okay. We're almost done. You won't have to sit here uncomfortably for very much longer. I had to make a decision. Either I needed to hang it up, which would have broken my promise to this church, my vow to God, and would have been out of the will of God. I needed to hang it up. Or I need to be prepared when I got in this pulpit to tell you that if you're going to be a member of this church and you're going to be a part of this church, then I expect you to hold yourself to the same level of accountability that I expect you to hold me to. And I think that's where we need to be. No more coming to me and saying, Pastor, I'm worried about so-and-so because they haven't been in church. If you're that worried about so-and-so, go get so-and-so and bring them back to church. Go get them. I got a stepbrother who I have been begging to come to church for a year. He has never darkened the door of this church. The other day he darkened the parking lot, but he didn't come to the door. Well, you know what? Every week I invite him to church. Every week I invite him to church. And you know when I'm going to stop? When he comes. Now I'm not doing it to get in his face and I'm not doing it to be rude. I'm doing it in love. But I'm going to do it. And he's not the only one. Because how many of you, I'll ask this question and wrap up. How many of you came to this church because somebody invited you? Raise your hand. Connie, nobody invited you? I don't care how cold you are. Get that hand up. Make me out to be a liar in here. All right? That's the way it works. Okay? So y'all go out and invite the people you have relationships with. Not just random people, which is fine, but you're probably not going to get them. Go find the people you have relationships with and bring them. That means come with them to church. Take them around. Show them places. Sit down with them in the sanctuary. Sit with them in Sunday school. Bring them to the pastor's breakfast and sit with them while they eat. You can eat too. You can eat too. But 2018 will only be different if we recognize that the change is you. You have to be different. I have to be different. Or it will be the same or worse. And I love you, but I mean this with all my heart. Let's not make excuses this year. Excuses are, if you say you're going to do something, follow through with it. Ed, can I get a public commitment that we're going to get that park finished? All right. It's not that Ed hasn't followed through with it. It's that it snowed. But when the weather gets ready, we're going to have that park finished. And we want you to be a part of the grand opening. We want, when Smith Street's on the radio and the newspaper or on the lips of people, we want you to be pleased to say, this is my church. I don't want you to be one of those people who's going to sit back, hear what God's doing, and go, man, I wish I was a part of that. But this is my cry to you, because I can't do this every day. I can't beg you every day. I have to get back into Revelation next week. This is my cry to you. Come and join us. Make this year great. Make this year better than you've ever imagined. Join us in our obedience to Christ and His will. Now, the reason we're not doing an invitation this morning is because, by the way, a person who loves God, loves people, and make disciples is a three-pronged member. Just so you're clear on that. Over here, you'll see the path to discipleship. I encourage you to look at that before you leave. The 6E strategy. I encourage you to look at that before you leave. I was going to go over it. There's not time. But I would encourage you to look at that. We hung it up this year because that's how many baptisms we hope to have on minimum this year. And those are the ways we hope to do it on top of salvation in general by you going out and sharing. So those events, those prayer times, those things that are happening, our goal this year is 20 baptisms because of salvations. 20 conversions that follow up with baptisms. Our goal is 20. That's more than we've ever had since I've been here. The highest we've gotten in a year is 18. Our goal is 20. I'd like to see us do more than 20. Amen. I mean, aren't they worth it? Aren't these people worth knowing Jesus? Isn't their life important enough? He died for them. Sure it is. So I'd like to see that. Wouldn't you like to stand here the next year and hear that we had 25, 35, 45 people get saved and look around and see those people and their families celebrating Jesus with you? See, I would love to too. We have to do that together. Over here is our leadership team. It's also in some of the other areas of the church. If your name's on the leadership team and you haven't been asked yet, you're being asked now. All right? You don't have to, but you should let me know one way or the other, because coming up very soon we're going to do trainings on how those teams work, and all of those teams are based upon your gifts test. So if you didn't do a gifts assessment, your name won't be on there. Or if you did a gifts assessment, but your name's not on there, it's because I didn't want to take too many liberties. But believe me, we've got places for you to serve. And a lot of you aren't on those leadership teams, but you're needed in those ministries. So you're going to be getting emails, and you're going to be getting contact. And the best thing for you to do is to write down on that connection card your phone number and put text me. Your email and put email me. If you don't get any of that and you want us to call you, put your phone number on a connection card this morning and put call me. Everybody take out a connection card and we're going to be done. Everybody grab a connection card. You should have them in front of you, the pews in front of you. If you don't have them, we can get some. But we should have one. If everybody would take a connection card, Ed doesn't have one, Faye doesn't have one, Heather doesn't have one. I'm going to start calling out. Sydney doesn't have one. Somebody get Sydney one. Let's see here. Ed and Audrey, these guys don't have them back there. Lawson looks confused. He has one. He's still confused, though. All right. Everybody's got one. If you don't have one, raise your hand and we'll get them to you. All right. If you're not being contacted, now listen, this is it. I promise we're done. By the way, goodbye to all of you. We love you. If you're online with us, you can do connection card on the app and on our website.